All right, welcome back to the Atlantic Construction Podcast. We have with us today Pomerleau Construction. We have Lorin Robar. We have Aswin Dajendran and Emily Surette.
Nailed it.
Thanks for being here, guys. Great to have you guys here. Maybe we'll just get started, Lorin. I know you're local here from Nova Scotia and a UNB grad, and you started your journey with Pomerleau in 2004 or 5. I think that was one of the first jobs that Pomerleau did. I think we can see one of the jobs out the window here.
Barely, but yes.
So maybe just take us back to your first job and sort of where the ball started for you with Pomerleau.
Yeah, so I actually 2006 is when I started, but just kind of 3 years after Pomerleau, I guess, has established an office here on a permanent basis. We've been active, I guess, here since the late 90s with some civil related projects for MRDC on the P3 highway in New Brunswick, and some JVs with Cardinal, which is went to Rideau, which is now Bird. So we've been here for a while, but
okay. So I was wrong when I said that was the first job. Then you guys have been here since the 90s.
We've been here
in
some form. We've been here since we've been here in some form since the 70s. Our first project in Alberta, Canada, was actually the Dominion in Gander back in 1979.
Wow.
So so we've been in New Brunswick, I guess, since
because
99.
Pomerleau is like a 60-year-old company, right?
Yeah,
from Quebec family
1954.
business.
Yeah, 1954. So second generation. Was started by Hervé Pomerleau, and now it's majority owners are Pierre and Francis, the two sons and brothers.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been with us, been with Pomerleau since 2006. Started as an estimator. Spent a few months there, kind of, learning the ropes, and needed a project coordinator over at the Dartmouth wastewater treatment plant. Right. So put my hand up, got voluntold, and kind of went to site, and
well,
the rest has been history.
For our listeners, we're sitting on Lower Water Street, so we can actually see that building across the water here. I can see the ferry. And I can see that building. We can see that building right across the water. So
yeah, I point that out every time I'm downtown.
Yeah,
just kind of show the kids and things like that. So it's a bit of a cool legacy project for myself.
Yeah, and you've obviously had lots of different roles with Pomerleau. Everything from project coordinator, superintendent, project manager, and estimator prior to that, and now a civil engineering degree from UNB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I graduated UNB. I'm from New Germany, which is a small place outside of Bridgewater. But I love my time in Fredericton. It was a great university. Still have lots of friends there. Always look forward to going back. Yeah, it was a special place for me.
Great. And so you've been regional manager now for Atlantic Canada for Pomerleau for the last few years.
January of 2018. Yeah. So. Been a different experience. Certainly a challenge. Something different every day, which is always keeps you on your toes. So it's certainly great.
Yeah, and you guys have, just for current projects, I think before we came on the air here, you were talking a little bit about the regional hospital in Cape Breton, and then a P3 job in Newfoundland that you guys are just finishing up now.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have the Central Long-Term Care, so they're P3 are in partnership with Fengate, so they're the sponsor, they're the project co, and we are the design builders on that, and Cape Breton Hospital.
Teamed up with Lindsay.
Teamed up with Lindsay, yep. So it's been a great partnership so far. Awesome company to work with.
Yeah.
And it's been a great union, and we're going to be together for a little while up there. So we're super excited.
What's the timeline up there? You guys are 20 months in, and another couple of years. Or?
We'll be there probably a good 7 yet, I would think.
You're not going to retire on that one.
Well, I'll be close when it's done. I'll be close. Yeah. No,
so how does that work whenever you team up with another GC? Like why? I'm sure there's obvious reasons, but maybe just tell us a little bit when something like that happens for a large healthcare project, and why you would team up with Lindsay's, what they bring and you bring, how that kind of works.
Yeah, I mean, Pomerleau hasn't had a large presence in Cape Breton over the years. Certainly Lindsay is active there. They have an office. They're big into healthcare. We're big into healthcare. So yeah, we started sitting down and just having some conversations. Myself and Corey, and kind of led to a partnership. And yeah, the rest has kind of been history. So 20 months in, so far so good. Yeah, it's been a great project to really start off, and kind of really just starting to get rolling now with. We're through kind of the design on a few of the buildings, so starting to get rolling on the energy center here with construction. We've done the mass kind of cut and fill on the campus parking. So yeah, no, it's been great so far.
Tell us a little bit about the Gander and Grand Falls Windsor Long-Term Care Facility, the P3 job, and just a little kind of briefing on just what that's been like, challenges.
Yeah, so certainly my first P3. It's a design build at its core, but when you add in the financing and the operations and all that kind of elements, it's certainly been a challenge. Definitely been a great learning experience for us. There are two 60-bed long-term care facilities, so essentially identical projects, one in Gander, one in Grand Falls. So yeah, we're a couple years in, just in the kind of finishing stages here now. And it's been really a great learning experience for our team, having not done one in the Atlantic region before.
And I'm sure you bid on other P3s before, other than that one, whether in Newfoundland or in other provinces, and that was kind of the first one that you guys nailed.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And
that's a grueling tender process.
Super long. It's months by the time you go through the RFQ stage, the RFP stage, work through the financial close. It's a year-long process, start to finish, easy. Yeah.
What's it been like in Cape Breton? Like, if that's an area that you're doing your first job, can it be challenging for finding subs in the area or people to travel there, or is that kind of partly why J.W. Lindsay's teamed up with you that way, or?
Well, I think the market in Cape Breton is booming right now. I mean, we have our project. Certainly, PCL has the two large long-term cares, and Ellis Don and John Old Jim have the Marconi campus. So it's a lot of work going in Cape Breton right now. So it's great, really, for the people up there. Of course, I think there'll be challenges with labor, but we're a resilient industry, and we'll find a way to get it done.
For sure. To your left is Aswin Dajendran. Just want to make sure I did pronounce that right. I've been practicing, so I got that right. Yeah. I'm proud of myself. So project director with Pomerleau, and you've been with Pomerleau for 3 years in Calgary. Moved here, I think, during the pandemic, and been here for about a year. Civil engineering background from the University of Saskatchewan, and 10 years in the construction industry. How's your time been with Pomerleau so far, and how's the move to the Atlantic region?
Well, I mean, I love Pomerleau. Being when I moved to Calgary, I joined Pomerleau pretty much immediately, and it was great. I love working for Pomerleau, and the move here was pretty interesting and challenging, to say the least, because Lorin and I first talked about it, I think, back in 2019, early 2019, and then it finally happened in August because of the pandemic. Everything got pushed months and months, and it was interesting to do that during the pandemic and with the family of young kids, and we were actually had to do the 14-day quarantine. The building back up there, a condo was it was fun.
Buying a house unseen.
I'm sure we
bought a house unseen. Yeah, that was good. That was
sure a lot of people listening can resonate with the 14-day self-isolation thing. So.
Yeah, that's good. That's behind us mostly now. So
so take us through being a project director. Just what a day looks like for you, and what it's like for you with the certain projects that you're working on. What your role entails.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a director. Right now I got mostly wastewater treatment projects. We have one in Wolfville, which is lump sum, one in Wabush, which is a design build. We have a project in Surrey as well, which is another lump sum project in PEI. And I'm also into the projects in hospital projects in Dumont, New Brunswick. And just kind of started the Gauge Down integrated health project as well. So my role essentially is to support the project manager, the coordinator, superintendent on their day-to-day activities. helping with scheduling, conflict resolutions, dealing with contractors, the owners, trying to make sure that everybody on the team is doing the Pomerleau thing the Pomerleau way, and keeping everybody in line really. So and then reporting back to Lorin.
Yeah. So, and you have kind of a background in various sectors like heavy industrial mining, oil and gas, power generation, and like you said, wastewater. So, like these projects for Pomerleau, do they fall under the special projects heading for you guys, or is it like they could be lump sum, they could be design build, but
Yeah.
when you say special projects, what falls under special projects for?
So good question. We don't have a special projects division.
Okay.
So Pomerleau is set up kind of, maybe to explain the business, it's set up really with three pillars. So we have C&I, civil and infrastructure. We have Quebec building operations and Canadian building operations. So Atlantic would fall under Canadian building operations. We also have an Apex group, which kind of leads our design build and P3 portfolios. And then we have a sister company that we own called Borea, which does renewable energy, so wind farms, solar farms,
I've seen that on
things
your
like
website.
that. In Atlantic Canada, we primarily do buildings. With that said, our civil and infrastructure team is here, just actually finishing a large kind of jetty caisson job at the Port of St. John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And also to my left on the same side of the table is Emily Surette. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I took a little longer to get to you than I wanted, but thanks for being here, Emily.
No, thanks for having me.
And how are you doing?
I'm well, and yourself?
Great. Emily is a talent business partner for Pomerleau in Atlantic. Brings a people-centric focus, practice with HR, and over 6 years experience in HR, Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology from SMU.
Yeah, I had a Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology and then went on to do an advanced diploma in Human Resource Management at NSCC.
Very nice. I think it's really interesting for some other people that might be in a similar situation to you in your education in HR. It could be other things like marketing, and just what it's been like for you to work with Pomerleau in the construction industry out of those fields, and maybe just take us through. I don't know if it was your plan. I'm assuming maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but what it's like to be in that position with a large firm in construction, general contractor like Pomerleau.
So when I had graduated with my diploma in Human Resource Management, I went and worked at a family-owned organization called Acadian Sea Plants, and it was in manufacturing. And when I was looking for a different opportunity, I had no exposure to construction. But what really resonated with me with the role and the organization itself were the values, and really that it was a family-owned organization, because the focus is being connected and putting people first. So although it is a national scope for the organization, it is very much a people-focused organization.
Yeah, I think that's really it's really interesting you bring that up, and from Pomerleau's origins as a family business and to the size and scope that it's grown, you'd have to think that the process and the thinking behind HR and things like marketing and branding to keep that family business feel. Even still, do you guys feel that it's still a family business even though it's got to the size that it is? Like, any comments on?
Absolutely. I mean, on my first day, Francis has taken a new role, but originally when I started, I had a welcome email from my boss's boss's boss. So, that I was even on the radar was incredible and made me feel very welcome to begin with. I definitely feel that it is family focused and trying to keep, we have the Pomerleau brand, and most of the people that we hire share those values, embody those values. But we do get to kind of put a little like Atlantic flavor on it, or BC has kind of their own way to do it.
Yeah, I think that's another good point too, because I mean, the vast difference between one end of the country to the other. I mean, BC is a different market than Atlantic Canada is, so obviously they're going to have their own twist on things and their own sort of subculture, but it still kind of holds true to the umbrella of the whole. How about you, Ashwin? Any comments on that and just the 4 years you've been in Pomerleau, and maybe also mention what it's been like to work in Atlantic Canada as opposed to Western Canada? Maybe some changes you've noticed or some pros and cons, anything at all?
I think Emily's got the point that she's trying to make. It's that we have the Pomerleau brand and the family feel, and we do embody that everywhere we are. So when I was in Calgary, it was almost like and then coming here, it was almost like like a cousin or extended family kind of situation. Lorin and I, we got along just fine. The office. And the whole, the boss's boss, keeping in touch with everyone else, and I had the feeling there. I have the feeling here, so I'd have to echo exactly what Emily's saying. It doesn't matter where we are, we still are the same part of a larger extended family. So yeah,
that's great. And what about anything like aside from the culture of the company, but just the jobs you're working on, sort of, the way things are done in Atlantic Canada, and just dealing with the people here. Is there any differences, like major differences you've noticed? I mean, it's kind of like this, it's half a dozen in one hand and the other. It's all the same thing, but
yeah, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it's not really differences. It's different. It's how people approach certain items. But I mean, I also come from Saskatoon, where there was way more. I think there's a little bit more. I'm trying to find the right word to say it. It's more relaxed over there, and Alberta was a little bit more. Less relaxed, and then here is just its own. Everybody has their own pace. I think that's the best way to put it. And there's no bad or good. It's all different. So.
And so you got an email from Francis Pomerleau on your first day of work. So
Yeah.
This would be he's one of the sons of the founder.
Yeah. So currently his role is director of national strategy, but at the time that I joined, he was overseeing the talent, culture, and leadership. There's about 4 different levels between he and I in TCL. And on my first day, there was a welcome to the team, Emily, sitting in my inbox, which I was I was pleasantly surprised, but very shocked.
Yeah, wow, that's really something. I'm gonna definitely get a nice warm welcome with that.
Yeah.
Speaks to the family feel and everything as well. Lorin, you mentioned earlier you might have a Francis Pomerleau story that you might want to tell.
Yeah, I mean, just an example of kind of the family feel. My daughter back just after March break, actually, she was at daycare. We got a call, say, hey, Isla sprained her ankle. Can you come pick her up? So, my wife went and got her. She come home. Kids at that age, you can't really tell if they're hurt or kind of just, acting to get attention. But turned out she had a broken femur. So she was in a body cast kind of from nipple line to ankle. So just got a call from Francis, said, hey, heard about Isla. How's she doing? Let me know if you need anything. We're here to support. If you need us, you know how to get me. So, I think that's the kind of feel that him and Pierre and the rest of really the Exco kind of push down to us. So, it's really great to kind of have someone that cares at that level.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing to hear that. It makes you wonder how they have that headspace just to know everyone's family and know their names and keep on top of what's happening with them. Shows you how much they care.
Yeah. It's really, they've been like that, honestly, since I've been here for 15 years almost. So it's been kind of like that since day one when we were a much, much smaller organization than we are now.
Yeah, it reminds me. I'm a big Jordan Peterson fan, and he often talks about. I don't know if you guys are fans of his or not, if you've heard, but he always talks about how people sometimes will think that CEOs get to the level they do from being ruthless and just being hedonistic in that. But the truth is the exact opposite. People that do get to that level actually are very empathetic and very caring, and they just have huge hearts for people. And I think that story just speaks to that fact as well. Ashwin, I thought maybe we could talk a little bit on the innovation side, just about and you can sort of whatever is kind of on your mind for these kind of things, but just a little bit about in your role as a project director, things like sustainable solutions and BIM and how that benefits the business, 4D and 3D models and the lean approach, and just maybe even some of the new technology that Pomerleau is integrating in, such as drones and virtual reality sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. No, I can give a quick rundown on that. First of all, in Pomerleau, we take innovation. It is one of our core, principles that we strive to improve on. Pomerleau has always been, a leader. Trying to, we have over 50 people in the company who are strong leaders in different various fields. Who they work throughout. They're all across Canada, and they're always, they have the ear to the ground, trying to understand and get updated on what's new, what's the new big thing. Right now it's kind of 3D modeling. Pomerleau is one of the early we adopted it fairly early on.
2012, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so we have our BIM and our VDC teams. They create 3D models for us that we use to detect clashes, which helps mitigate issues and identify problems long before we actually start building, or even during the building process. Our site teams have access to drones, robotic total stations, as well as laser systems that we use to scan buildings, create our models, and then cross-reference them with our drawings to see where we are at, where we're going, any issues in the intermediate. That has been really helpful for our site teams as well as the owners, other stakeholders, trade partners to kind of, they can identify where we're at, where we need to go. It's always good to see 3D stuff, right? It's interesting, it's cool. It comes from the video game industry, and our team, they're very well. They have all the cutting edge technology. One thing that we also use is Hollow Builder, which is it's not something that we own. It's a third party company, but the program is very neat, and we have QR codes everywhere in our sites. We take 360 photos with essentially like a drone, like a station that takes pictures. Anyone can go and they can scan the code, and then they'll see where the it essentially becomes augmented reality kind of thing. And they'll show the models, and you can kind of look around and see where it's gonna go, what's there right now, and you can pick up.
What's the name of the technology again?
Hollow Builder.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a company. They're a German/American company. And the thing with technology too, right? They evolve so fast. That they've only been around since 2016 and 17. So a lot of people, it was after I was done being a coordinator, and I'd see that stuff, and people were still joining the industry. It moves so fast before you even gone to your next level. There's new things that come out.
So it's one of the biggest values of that is for someone like yourself or Lorin, when you're back at the HQ or the office, you can walk through the building virtually.
Exactly.
While it's being constructed.
Yeah. Like, so we can log in and just see what happened last week, what happened this week, in a full 360 view. And
that sounds great.
It's a lot of benefits beyond just what started off as something to clash detection, right? That was all to make sure there was no interference, and now it's gone to a whole different level where you can just literally virtually be there without actually being there and being in everybody's face and everybody's way, and it's really neat. That's kind of our.
And for our listeners who aren't familiar, if they're outside the industry maybe and they're not familiar with BIM and the 3D modeling stuff, I guess for them just to kind of generalize, it would be like, so it enables a company like yourself on design build, whether or not you're design build or not, but it's your project and you can build it digitally prior to building it physically, and it just foresee all of the obstructions and interferences.
Exactly. I mean, we have lots of examples of problems. I have one example that comes to my mind right now is when we had lift stations in Alberta, but it's the same group, same technology that we had before we even had the first bucket in the ground. We modeled the building. It was 3 levels, and we found it was one of those projects where the drawings did not match. There were some issues there, and we knew those issues. We maybe did the plan, and within a week we had our BIM expert do the model, and we identified probably 24 issues. We brought the owner, the operators in. We showed them. We walked them through the building, and there was a lot of them were not huge, massive ones. There were some pretty big ones, but it all ended up before we even put a bucket in the ground. We solved issues that at the end of the project would have cost time, money, headaches.
I feel like there's numerous owners or project managers listening right now hearing that story. They're just like, geez, I wish somebody would have caught these things on this project I worked on 2 years ago. Yeah. And it just shows the amazing value that technology brings. Otherwise, you never would have caught those dozen items. And
exactly, and then to have, we also want to be, we foster that as a company. We encourage that, we do that, we invest in it so that we get the results. So it's not just having the technology, but also having the knowledge and everybody understanding what we have so that we use them when it's needed.
Emily, Pomerleau has their own training system in-house. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And it's
we
called
do.
PX3?
Yeah, so we affectionately call it the Cube or PX Cubed. And it is a dedicated training facility in Quebec. So we use it also, I mean, not as much in COVID, but typically when we bring on new employees within their first year, they have cultural onboarding. So after having had about 6 months to kind of get to know everybody in the office and their day-to-day working, the hires that are in the same, I want to say, time frame within that same 6 months that they've been hired, will be flown to PX Cube to meet their peers from across the country. So they spend about 3 or 4 days there, kind of connecting, reviewing, talking all about Pomerleau, their experiences, kind of the history on that. And it gives people an opportunity to connect with other people that they might not see in their day-to-day and watch their careers progress as well during their tenure here with Pomerleau.
Wow. So is that only training for sort of the office side of the business, or is there actually is there training for some of the tradespeople and site supers and people out on sites as well? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the site supers
Yeah.
would go.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't take a subcontractor as an example.
Right.
But any Pomerleau direct employees like project coordinators, superintendents, health and safety, whatever your position
Yeah,
is with
yeah.
Pomerleau, you would go to PX Cubed after 6 months. So we're going to be a big backlog, I think, when COVID's over, we can start flying again. But
Your training center is going to be full.
They'll be pumping them through. Yeah.
I was going to say it might be a little. There might be a little dust on the PX Cube cultural onboarding right now,
Yeah.
but there's plenty of people to get going.
And for a company of your size, assuming that is a real step to integrate to get every employee that comes through the door just for autonomy and just plugging them into the system and the culture. And can we talk maybe about environmental social governance? Anybody want to say a few words about ESG and sort of that's related to your accounting and your investors and that sort of thing, or am I wrong?
Oh, I'll leave the accounting and investors to him, but I'll talk about
How that kind of ties together. So some clients now are only investing in opportunities that are
Right.
sustainable.
Yeah.
So Pomerleau, as part of the kind of recent strategic plan, has put corporate social responsibility (ESG), which has a close link with D&I,
Yeah.
as one of its pillars.
And many companies are using ESG now, right? This is a very important thing.
Exactly.
This day and age.
So a lot of the big nationals are already doing it. We aim to publish our first ESG report next spring. So we're working with a few different external consultants to get us set up and make sure that we're doing it properly and responsibility. And so we're really excited about, looking forward to. And we'll see how that changes us, over the next few years.
Emily, maybe you can talk a little bit about diversity and inclusion in Pomerleau and how that works.
Yeah, so currently we are engaging with an external consultant to, take the efforts that we've already put in to, broaden and strengthen our workforce through diversity, equity, and inclusion. But they're going to take that and push it kind of even further. So, this day and age right now, we're seeing a lot of underrepresented groups now kind of speaking up. And so construction typically is a male-dominated industry. So, we've made efforts internally to address some of these issues. We've developed a Pomerleau Women in Construction cohort where women get together and will discuss some of the issues that they're facing in a male-dominated industry and have the opportunity to bounce ideas off their peers, again, that might not be in the office or at the same project, or somebody who may have had a similar experience that they can draw on. So just making sure that there's a network of support for that in addressing some of the gender concerns that come out of that. So that's just an example of one of the in-house efforts that we're making. But, Pomerleau is committed to making sure that somebody used this reference before, like diversity is, making sure that everybody gets an invite to the party, but inclusion is making sure everybody can dance at the party. So we're very interested. We're in the early stages of working with this external consultant, but we're very interested to see what kind of their the finger on the pulse is. They'll do a pulse check for us, and then kind of what the recommended actions are, so we can, be an overall more inclusive employer of choice.
Wow, yeah, that's great to hear, and it just reminds me of some of the people I know at Apprenticeship Nova Scotia and the government of Nova Scotia, and some of the incentives that they have with women in construction pilots that they do, and to see a company of your size to have that initiative in house is amazing.
Yeah, we have I might be a bit biased, but I'm so proud of the women that I work with in the Atlantic Canadian region that I see in the office. We have such strong female leaders, and then with the women that I work with, the way that our structure works is I work with Lorin and assist the Atlantic Canadian region, but I fall into shared services on a national scope. So I have my colleagues are all over Canada. So there's just a ton of strong female leaders, and Pomerleau really invests and wants to develop them further. So that's quite refreshing as being a woman in construction.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that speaks to even with Atlantic Canada. And it's construction, still a blue collar aura about it, but obviously on one side it is that, on the other side it's very white collar with engineers and accountants and finance side of things and project management. And I don't know if Lorin, if you would agree with this or not, but I think we are seeing a lot of diversification in Halifax, and not just in Pomerleau, but in the industry in general. I mean, there are all kinds of incentives with ISANs for hiring immigration workers on the job sites. As I mentioned before, women in construction pilots, and aside from all that, just really strong, great, talented women that are in the construction industry. You see it all the time, see it every day on job sites. And would you agree?
It's great to see. Certainly, just in my time in the workforce, the diversification is noticeable. Of course, we have a long way to go as an industry to be like the rest of the world, but baby steps and we get there. I think this is a great initiative. The industry as a whole is taking great initiatives. I recently attended a CANS event focused solely on this exact topic. So, it's great to see industry recognizing that we need to be better and really taking the steps to do that. So certainly proud to be working for a company that puts that, at the forefront. And I'm looking forward to see where we'll be in another 15 years.
Absolutely. Well said. Maybe Lorin, we could talk a little bit about branding, the company culture and the branding of Pomerleau. I think you're kind of in a phase now where you're kind of rebranding things, and there's a new vice president of marketing with Pomerleau now, and maybe you could just speak on the importance of that and what it means for the company.
Yeah, so Veronique, she joined Pomerleau in January of this year. So, she joined. Not only did she join in the midst of the pandemic, kind of right in the hot spot where the variants were going crazy, but she joined in the middle of our strategic planning process, and that process is going to take us to 2025. Really the message that came out of that in terms of branding was shaping the future. And what does that exactly mean? So if we think back, your life, our life, everyone's life around this table, the world's life changed in March of last year.
Absolutely.
And I would if I'm a betting man, I would suggest that life as we know it is probably done, and the future is going to be different in some shape or form. And as part of that, our industry has been traditionally slow to adopt change. It's been slow to adopt innovation. But I do think that we as an industry will reinvent ourselves. And Pomerleau is a leader in the construction industry. We want to help shape that future. Mm-hmm. Certainly our mission's always going to be, build infrastructure, build buildings, but we also want to build communities and living spaces. And really, we want to do that in a more collaborative, environmentally friendly, socially responsible, innovative, and human-centric way. And really, that's kind of what the vision, that's what the branding is all about. How do we as an industry be more inclusive? How do we as a company be more inclusive? And how do we help shape the future of what our industry inevitably will become coming out of this pandemic?
Yeah, I think that's really neat, that the way you just articulated that with the word collaboration and facilitation and everybody who's involved in the industry, whether you're a subcontractor or a consultant or a GC with a lump sum bid or your CM. If one leader like Pomerleau is, like you said on your, in some of your company dialogue, we're at a crossroads, and if Pomerleau and other leaders like yourself are leading the way from that crossroads out to what it's going to look like, everyone else is going to benefit from that too, right? It's not just Pomerleau that's going to benefit from that. It's going to be anyone who's collaborating with them, and
Absolutely.
so it's such an
Absolutely.
important thing that you guys are strategically approaching that, and other people in these markets are going to benefit from that when they're working with Pomerleau on any number of the large projects that you guys work on.
Absolutely. I mean, if we take innovation as a great example, if our subcontractors are adopting it, they're more efficient. If they're more efficient, we're more efficient, and we as an industry are more efficient. And of course, that directly translates to bottom line. So, for us, we can deliver our projects faster, our communities, our clients get to use them faster, and that's just great for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd like to just kind of open things up, Aswin and Lorin and Emily, and just obviously, Pomerleau is busy in many different provinces in Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, PEI, New Brunswick. But maybe we could just talk about a few of the projects that are going on right now that are current, that are, whether they're milestone projects or not, but just sort of some of the current, call them current events, the current projects that Pomerleau is working on across the Maritimes.
So yeah, we've got quite a few projects we got going on right now in the Atlantic. Well, one of them we just finished was in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. We had it's a wastewater treatment plant project. It's a good size. We actually just got substantial completion. The client's fairly happy with the project. Next one is we're starting the D201 building rehab in Halifax, which is set to start in August, which is a great project for us. It's in Halifax, and that's a very coveted area for everybody to want to be in. Another one we have is in the Surrey wastewater treatment plant. It's an SBR mechanical system that we're about 30%, 50% in right now.
Sorry, PEI?
Yeah,
Prince Edward
exactly.
Island?
PEI, exactly. Yeah, that's also been a great project. They're working with the local subcontractors all from PEI. It's going really well. Next one we have is the Wabush. That's a design build wastewater treatment as well. That one's more or about 80% completed. That's also mechanical. It's a really good project for us. So in New Brunswick, we have the Dumont Hospital STU unit, which is with TE and DTI. And we also have the 4B unit, which is the same hospital at the other side, and that's also been going really well. I think that's the ones I can think of.
I was going to ask. I know you guys on the episode here today brought up a number of wastewater treatment facilities. Mentioned some different healthcare projects. One being in Cape Breton Regional. So you guys focus that's a focus for you guys. Obviously, those areas. Do you bid on any schools and just want to kind of across the board, educational, government, healthcare, industrial, residential? You guys touch on all those areas, or your focus is mostly on certain projects of these types?
Well, I mean, in Atlantic Canada, with
gotta
the
have a
market, you've got to
portfolio.
be diversified,
Yeah.
and one day it's a school program, and the next day it's a wastewater, and the next day it's a hospital. So you have to be adaptable.
Are any one of those kind of you guys consider Pomerleau's bread and butter in Atlantic?
I would say certainly healthcare and wastewater and recreation really has been something that we've been fairly successful in, in my time at Pomerleau. So there are areas that we really like to work. We have good success. And they're fun, really, really challenging, fun technical projects that our teams really love to be associated with.
What are some of the recreation facilities that you've worked on, Lorin, across the provinces?
Newfoundland, we've done Marystown YMCA. We've done Goose Bay YMCA, Labrador Wellness Center, I guess they're branding it. Happy Valley Goose Bay, Danny Cleary Center. We just finished the Dieppe Intergenerational Complex in Moncton. A few years back in my project management days, I did the Moncton the Moncton Athletic Stadium for the
Nice.
at that time the 2010 World Junior Track and Field Championships. Those are kind of the ones that are coming to mind. I'm sure that we've done a few more, but just drawing a blank on Friday
Yeah,
afternoon.
I'm sure there's like 10 more. Yeah. It is late in the day on Friday.
Soon beer o'clock.
That's right. So when you say that you guys have been successful with that specific type of project, whether it's healthcare or like we'll use the example of recreation facilities, is that because you've developed relationships with consultants and architects in that arena that focus there, or are those lump sum bids or design builds, or after you do so many, or is it just the scenario that there's certain designs, certain components that go with these different types of buildings, and how does one become more successful on one? Can you take us through a little bit of that journey?
That's a tough question to answer, because really, honestly, it's a mix of everything you just said.
Yeah.
Some of it is location, some of it is type of project, some of it is contract mode. I mean, we've delivered a few of those via design build. We've delivered some of those via lump sum. Choice of consultants, choice of trade partners. Honestly, you need to really have you got to have the perfect recipe for every opportunity
like
if you want to
baking
be
a cake.
successful. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. If you don't have all the ingredients, you're not going to get a good cake. And really, that comes down to a successful project. So, we have not won any one of them on our own. Certainly, it's all been a team effort, especially in the design build side of things. And then really, honestly, on the lump sum, it's good trades, good pricing, and really a good strategy for execution. So I think that's partly been led to our success.
Yeah.
And our execution team, they like working on it. So that helps them be motivated for us to bid it and really make sure we are efficient and lean to win.
Yeah, lots of people with a passion for sports in the construction industry.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'd love to build these, be part of building these facilities, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think the team also is kind of important. Lorin just touched on that. Our team, local in-house team, they love working on those projects, and they're passionate about those when they work. And when you hear the guys talk about it when they bid on those, they always like those, and it comes from passion, and they're good at it. So.
Yeah, and I know, Lorin, and I think Aswin, you related to this as well when I asked about the different commercial, industrial sectors of education, government, healthcare, and how you really have to be diversified in Atlantic Canada, obviously to stay busy in the market. Does that also speak true to the scenario of the project, whether it's P3, design build, lump sum, CM? Like, you've got to be diversified there as well. But is there sort of one of those engines that's driving business for you guys that you're focusing on more for the future, or one that's kind of been growing within Pomerleau, whether it's more design builds, or P3 is obviously an initiative for you guys now with doing the job in Gander?
Yeah, and again, I think the diversification by region is honestly kind of drives that market. I mean, the market in the government market, let's say by province, is different. Newfoundland is in a DB P3 kind of market right now. So of course we need to be adaptable if we want to work there. New Brunswick is lump sum. PEI is lump sum. And Nova Scotia here is CM. So depending on where we work, we need to have teams and approaches that are adaptable to all those markets. And certainly, from a company standpoint, we want to dabble a little bit in each one, really just to ensure risk profile is well managed. But yeah, I mean, we don't have a preference for either contract. We'll do, we'll work in any type of model. It's honestly client dependent, and we'll come up with, a bid that hopefully wins in any scenario.
Emily, I'm wondering if you want to touch on some of the nonprofit giving, or any of you that Pomerleau is involved in, or some of the team building stuff in the workplace. Is that something that we can chat about?
Yeah, we when we had talked earlier, kind of about that family feel internally, that I felt like I wasn't doing it justice to say, like, that's how we get, that's how it's treated, when you're an employee. But the
sure.
Pomerleaus have a big commitment to making sure that they're giving back to not-for-profits to the community, not just the ones that we build in, but
I think on your website it says like there's hundreds of different.
yeah. So I mean, when we had when COVID hit, we had the Love is an Essential Service campaign, which raised over $600,000 for various groups that were not-for-profit or in financial need, and that's through Pomerleau's donations, but also personal donations from Francis and Pierre as well. In that same breath, we had an emergency COVID relief fund for our employees if they were facing financial hardships and wanted or they needed some monetary assistance. Everybody was affected differently with that. There was a confidential way that they could reach out for support. And we also try to, if we're working in an area, we don't want to just, build something and leave it. We want to basically kind of leave a legacy and something that is living and breathing for people to use. So there is, I can't remember exactly which location, but the playground.
Gander.
In Gander. So we had a project in Gander, and then we contributed to putting up a playground in there. So that's something that the community can use as well. There was a barbecue, I believe, a week, maybe 2 ago, up at Integrated Health and Gagetown. So that was kind of a celebration for the people, the subs on site, and thanking them for their work. And we had a food drive for the food bank there. So people brought in donations, and then the company matched that as well. So there's a
ton of initiatives there.
And so, we look at it as at a national scope too, but also kind of how I mentioned earlier that each place will do it differently. So we have our kind of the national things that we contribute to help with, but also local. So kind of depending on in what area you're working in or what, there's an Earth Day cleanup, I think on July 17th. It got pushed back from COVID, but near our office.
Bedford Highway cleanup, yeah.
Yeah, so
our office is in
Your
Bedford,
office,
so we,
yeah.
We get together with the community and clean up a section of Bedford Highway and
Sure.
find lots of garbage.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
But basically just trying to make it better than kind of how we found it.
Yeah, make it better than when you left.
Yeah.
Leave it better than when you came.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, that's amazing. Yeah, so maybe I know, Lorin, you mentioned earlier about being at a crossroads and some of Pomerleau's strategic branding and that sort of thing, and strategic plans and as a leader in the industry, but maybe some general comments on where you think the industry's headed and some new trends and problems like supply of demand of workforce and some new technologies that are coming down the road and that are here and that are going to be more present out there in the industry.
Yeah, so I think, like I mentioned earlier, I certainly see a future with more diversity, more inclusion. If we look at how kind of that workforce is going to change, I do firmly believe, anyone that's been following the metrics, the amount of people leaving the workforce versus entering it, we are going to have hardship. I do think that's where our industry is going to change. I foresee more automation, more prefabrication, more modular. In particular, a lot of autonomous. You see the machines where robots are laying bricks and robots are hanging drywall, and robots are or people sitting in an office like we are, running excavators and rock trucks. So I firmly believe that's the future. We need a little bit better infrastructure in place in Atlantic Canada to make that happen. But I see that as an industry and where we're going to head in the not too distant future.
Wow, that's really interesting to hear. Yeah.
To dovetail on that, Lorin mentioned, the amount of people that are leaving the workforce versus entering. That's going to have a huge impact on how we have to recruit to obtain top talent. Even if we do move to automation, there's going to be a need for people and their experience in various roles. So the war on talent is real. So we have to get competitive, get creative with how we recruit, and really we talked a little bit about branding too, but highlight our employer value proposition and how we want to be seen. So we want to be a desirable place to work, not just through Canada's top 100, but through values and pretty much the culture and why we're going to have people. Why do people want to come here? So we really do. We have to kind of put our money where our mouth is on that, and really highlight that why it's such a great place to work.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Well, Emily and Aswin and Lorin, really want to thank you guys for your time. It's amazing to have you guys here representing Pomerleau as a regional manager and a project director and an HR professional. It just really gives us a good perspective from the company. When we have multiple guests, it's it's like a roundtable discussion, and it's just really a really good product for people that are passionate and interested in the industry to be able to tune in and watch and listen to all the comments. And just to have you guys here is a real honor. And I just really want to thank you and thank Pomerleau for being part of Atlantic Construction Podcast. So from our team, there's lots of people behind the scenes helping make this happen. I'm just the lucky one that gets to talk to people. So really want to thank you guys for your time. And it's just been a real pleasure chatting with you guys today.
Dan, really thank you. Thanks for what you guys are doing. Really, we are a passionate industry, and thank you guys for being our voice. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Lorin.
Yep.
Thank you.
Ash. Thanks, Emily. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Atlantic Construction Podcast. Be sure to follow us on any podcast platform you use. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Instagram at Atlantic Construction Podcast. Be sure to send us a comment or a review. We'd love to engage with you.